Dave, you're all set. You all live. You can go.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe. Thank you. I didn't know you
Welcome.
were. Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, February 2nd. Is now 7:05 p.m. Town Council meeting via Zoom. And the first month of the year is already gone. Councilman Licciardi, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Is Councilman Licciardi here? Councilman Messier, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I get my job back.
For now.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, John. Will you lead us in prayer?
Sure, let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we pray for your divine presence this evening. Bless us all with your Holy Spirit. Remind us to be patient, thoughtful, and caring when making decisions and mindful of those that we have been chosen to serve. And finally, Father, we ask that you watch over this great town and all of her many citizens. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Thank you.
Dave, can you hear me?
Now we can.
I just said the pledge to myself. I couldn't unmute myself.
You did a good job.
Thank you. Thank you. I even sang it.
Roll call, Paula.
Councilman Licciardi,
Here.
Councilman Messier,
Yeah.
Councilwoman Williamson. Here. Council Vice President John D'Amico,
Here.
Council President Goslin. There is a quorum on record. Discussion regarding actions and planning pertaining to addressing COVID-19 viruses and the impact on the town's operations.
Mark?
Good evening. Briefly, town operations have stayed consistent since our last meeting. There's been no operational changes. Our staffing is doing quite well, knock on wood. We have one DPW worker on a long-term recovery and one town hall worker that is out. I invited Chief Arone to be available to go over what was broadcast this morning at about 8 o'clock regarding our senior COVID vaccination policy, just in case anyone missed it. Go ahead, Chief.
Chief, you're on mute.
Oh, thank you. So the state did give us a bolus of vaccine that we have 140 doses to give out to the 75 and over population. That I know that statewide has been handled in a lot of different ways. In West Warwick, the CVS Walgreens consortium that went out to the HUD 202 facilities did not get all of our facilities in town. So we identified those congregate care settings as a priority. In addition to that, so there were about 90 people that were originally identified in those populations. The number that were actually given, taken up by those were in the around 60 or 70. So the rest of those were given out to other residents of the town. The state has promised to give us 200 doses a week starting the week of February 15th. So we've identified the West Warwick Civic Center as a place, and we've planned to have a vaccination clinic there. The 200 doses we can give out in about 4 to 5 hours. So we don't need to run it like on multiple days. We can get it all done in one day each week. So we are trying to meet some of the parameters. We need to have a physician and a pharmacist on site in order to run the pod. So we are trying to coordinate what's best with the physician and the pharmacist as far as which day of the week. It might vary each week. So moving forward with the 75 and over population, we are accepting phone calls at the West Warwick Senior Center to compile a waiting list. When we get that waiting list, we will be registering people by age groups, and starting with the 90s and over and working our way on down. I kind of got ahead of myself there just a little bit. One of the other things that we did after using the congruent care is that we used the Rhode Island Special Needs Registry. These are people that had self-identified as needing assistance during an emergency. So we've filled up pretty much the rest of that list with those individuals. As we did get the phone calls in on Friday, there was a little bit of a hiccup in that the senior center has 3 lines coming into their facility. When all 3 lines were tied up, it went to a voicemail. The voicemail was saying that the center was closed. However, the center was still open. They were receiving calls, and they did try to return all the messages that they got that people did leave. So there was a little bit of confusion that did get corrected on Monday. So we've gotten the West Warwick Senior Center got almost 500 calls over the past between Friday and today. So they've done an outstanding job in trying to get back to each of those. And as you can imagine, there's only 3 lines coming in. They were completely tied up all day long. And so, thank you to Manny Murray and his staff over there for getting all that information together. So as the numbers go in the state, West Warwick is going to receive 200 doses a week for 4 weeks. Our population is estimated from the census at about 2,000, 75 and over, that is. And our voting roll had about 2,200 in it. So the numbers that we're getting right now is about 940 doses for that population. And it's obviously not enough. So there are meetings that are ongoing, and the state is trying to get more vaccine for us to get out to the public. So, we will be starting again when we start with the 200 doses at the 90 and over, going to 85 and over, 80 to 85, and we'll work our way down the list.
Chief, how does this work as far as the booster, like the follow-up? Are the people that got this one now, are they going to be on the list for that when that one comes in?
Yeah, so just like we did recently, when we sign everyone up, we'll sign them up for both their first dose and their second dose. And the Department of Health calculates that when they say they're going to be giving us the 200 doses a week, that they will have those other 200 doses. So it'll be 4 weeks at 200 doses, and there'll be another 4 weeks for the second doses at that same rate.
Very great, thanks.
Chief,
Chief.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Jason.
Go ahead. Thanks. Chief, so this is considered the first wave, correct?
The first wave? So
The first with
yeah,
because I'm getting no, go ahead.
However you want to term it, it's fine. It's the first wave, it's the first issuance from the state.
So the plan is to issue more once the seniors are all done. That's when we're going to like the next group.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So, but again, I think that the supply that we're getting now is not going to be sufficient to get all of that population. I don't know how that population is going to want to take it. I know there is a certain segment that does not want to take the vaccine. I don't know in that age group what that number is going to be, whether it's 80%, 70% that want it. But
Chief, today it was announced that the federal government's going to be sending vaccines directly to pharmacies. How does that play into what's going to happen besides make it more confusing, perhaps?
Yeah, it probably will make it a little more confusing. Hopefully, we'll have a little bit of coordination. They'll be doing the same demographic that we are, the 75 and over, in those groups. But I don't know what the private industry will do with that.
So are you coordinating or talking at all to CVS has a large presence in West Warwick, obviously. Are we doing any work with them to if so we only have 940, if we need more, can we send people to them? That kind of thing.
So I don't see that as a way of supplying our pod.
Okay.
They kind of come down in different ways, but I do know that when I was getting 14,000 at the very beginning, what was going to CVS and Walgreens was counted originally for the first few doses in that, and I think that's been corrected since. But any other questions?
Chief, I know after the news article and news report, it got a little hectic for everybody. So thank you for coordinating that with the senior center. And again, thank you to the senior center for all they've done. And we have not had any situations or concerns with receiving calls back. Everybody that I know you personally called individuals that night and the following day for me that were reaching out to us, because I think the news article said, please reach out to your local officials, which they did as soon as that article was released. So thank you for taking care of that. And it was all hours of the night.
No, thank you.
I would agree. I mean, I've heard nightmares from other communities, and I actually alerted some people to call their local senior centers and or EMA people in different communities, and certainly we're not met with the efficiency and the response that we got here in West Warwick. So hats off, no doubt about that.
It was a team effort. There's no question about that.
Any other questions for the chief?
Discussion, action, vote of town council. Any matter on this portion of the agenda may be acted upon by way of topic, discussion, and action by the town council, with the vote on the record to approve, amend, deny, or table the agenda item. Consent agenda, license applications. Resolved that the consent agenda, having been posted, all matters being referred to the proper departments and being disposed of or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
Move the license applications.
Second.
Moving second. Any discussion?
Yes, actually, Paul, it's my understanding that item 1C should be changed to say pelvic health wellness.
Yes.
So with that amendment,
Any other questions from the council? I do have two hands up in the audience on licenses. I will allow Mr. Oates to speak on the licenses.
I beg your pardon, Dave. I had my hand up for the chief. A short question, if that would be okay.
We're on licenses right now, Tom. I'll save it for public comment.
Okay, I did have my hand up when the chief was speaking, but we'll save it for public. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Melissa. Just state your name and address for the record.
Melissa Nassani. My address is my home address or the business address?
You can use your business.
207 Quaker Lane, West Warwick.
Thank you. And you have a question?
I just wanted to correct the name. It's Pelvic Health and Wellness. So there's a little ampersand in between health and wellness. Sorry, I have really bad handwriting.
All righty, as amended. Thank you for letting us know. That has been amended. Any other questions on licenses? Seeing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Minutes of previous meeting, approval of the minutes of the January 12th, 2021, January 19th, 2021 joint pre-budget meeting, West Warwick Town Council, School Committee, January 19th of 2021 executive session, and January 19th, 2021 Town Council meeting.
Move the minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. I know Councilwoman Williamson has a slew of corrections that she just.
No, not a slew. So on the January 12th minutes, which was the charter review committee meeting, on the second page, there is a place where it talks about Solicitor Williams. It should be Williams' son instead of Williams. And then in the joint pre-budget meeting with the town council and the school committee, second page, there are a couple of them. The word middle of the paragraph, the word ballots, I think that shouldn't be there, should be taken out. More importantly, when we get down towards the end of the paragraph, it talks about line reducing the increase that we are requesting to just under, and even though Joe Spagno probably would like it to be 596,936, that number should actually be 496,936. And in that last sentence, I believe it should say the $150,000 cut to what we originally budgeted as an increase.
So I have a second moved motion with some corrections. I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Ordinance 2021-1, second reading, sponsored by Council President Goslin, and ordinance amending Chapter 9C medical marijuana growing facilities, Section 5 violations of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second, Al. You're on mute, Al.
It's the second reading to bring our ordinance in compliance with the state notice requirements. At the time the ordinance was drafted, notice of marijuana grows in West Warwick had to be given to the Department of Health. Subsequent to that time, the Department of Business Regulation also came into the marijuana picture, and at a meeting recently with Matt Manny and the business regulations, they asked that we add to our ordinance that they be given notice as well as the Department of Health. And that's the only change.
Any questions for Al? Thank you, Al. Any public comment on the ordinance? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Ordinance 2021-2, first reading, sponsored by Councilwoman Williamson and Councilman Messier. An ordinance amending Appendix C, traffic ordinances of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick. Location, Carrie Ann Drive, stop sign on the northerly lane of Carrie Ann Drive at the intersection with Shannon Lane. West Street, stop sign at the westerly intersection of Westerly Route of West Street with the north-south route of West Street.
I'll move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second.
I sent this along with a little diagram to the council members because that West Street stop sign is a unique one. It's West Street runs into West Street, which goes north and south from the intersection. And it's right at that location that the stop sign is requested by Councilman Messier.
Yeah, I've actually been out on site there. It's actually behind Pete Cottrell's house. It is a weird situation over there, and the way the road runs, and it does make sense to put that stop sign where it is.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes people don't think we're listening, but it was maybe like a month ago, Pete brought it to our attention in public comment. We gave it to the traffic committee. They looked at it, and here we are. And they're recommending it. So I think it's a good idea for the residents of that neighborhood.
Any comment from the council on this on these ordinances? Any public comment on the ordinance? Seeing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi?
Yes.
Councilman Messier?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
Claims approval or denied. Jose Ariel Melendez, 31 Ashenbolt Ave of West Warwick, pothole claim in the amount of $300.
I will move the claim.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
David, I can't see, I don't have it in front of me. Was it approved by DPW?
I think it
No,
has, yes.
Actually, I thought it was, there's no estimate for damage attached to this claim. Therefore, I suggest the claims committee deny the claim, no payment granted.
Correct. I was looking at the other one. I'm sorry, John.
Okay. So that was the recommendation, Mary Beth?
That, according to the letter that Paula received from Fred Gill, it was investigated. I can't increase the size of this. Investigated Mendez claim in the town of West Warwick concerning damage to the tire.
They didn't submit any documentation that they had it fixed.
No, they filled out the form, but then there were no estimates attached. There is a police report attached, but
No estimates.
yeah.
I would deny it for now, and if they can come back with estimates and repair bills, then we can probably go from there.
I assume that would be okay because they did file the claim before the time limit.
You can table.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Can we table it and somebody get back to them and let them know that if they include that, then we could take it under consideration again?
Okay, I move that we table this claim for Jose Ariel Melendez until
second.
documentation can be provided.
A second.
Moved and seconded. Paula, you got that information?
I'll see if, yeah,
All right, thank you.
I'll take care of it tomorrow.
Take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi?
Yes.
Councilman Messier?
This is the vote to table?
Yes.
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
The second claim is for Anna Paula Philomena, 1185 Narragansett Boulevard, apartment 110 in Cranston. Pothole claim in the amount of $124.02.
And you said this one has approval? All right, I'll move the claim for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
So actually, I don't know that I see Freddie's recommendation on this one. Do I, Paula? I assume he,
He originally sent it to the, yeah, I don't have it.
I don't,
guess
but I see where she included her paperwork though with the price, correct? Is that what I'm looking at?
she does have that, and actually, She went to DOT and it was denied because it's not a state road.
Gotcha.
So,
Which road was that again?
Wakefield Street. We had one last
Yeah, there's been a
meeting
few,
too.
there's been a few potholes up near the
There are
Wakefield Hill.
definitely, there are definitely a few, typically surrounding the manhole covers, but there are some that are pretty big that, yeah, we need to, I've mentioned that to Don, and he was going to look into it.
For the DPW's recommendation, once again, you could table this to your next meeting to see if DPW has an opinion one way or the other on it.
I'll make that motion to table it.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Addition of taxes. Resolved that the attached additions in the amount of $10,221.48 presented to the tax assessor for approval of the town council in accordance with Article 25, Section 5 of the West Warwick Code of Ordinance is hereby approved. Original list on file at the tax assessor's office.
I'll move the addition of taxes.
Second.
Moved and second, any discussion?
How unusual is this? I don't ever remember seeing this before.
It happens from time to
Yeah.
time.
Okay.
Doesn't happen as much as
The other way.
side,
I know. I do know that.
but- Any other comment from the council? Hearing none, roll call vote, Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Cancellation of taxes. Resolved that the attached cancellations in the amount of $1,888.24 presented to the tax assessor for approval of the town council in accordance with Article 25, Section 5 of the West Warwick Code of Ordinance is hereby approved. Original list and filed in the office of tax assessor.
Move the cancellation of taxes.
Second.
Moved and second, any discussion? Hearing none, Councilman Licciardi,
Yes.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Yes.
Councilman D'Amico,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Upcoming appointments, Sewer Use Board of Review, one alternate member vacancy with the term to expire on 10/2021, and two vacancies with the term to expire 10/2023. Pension Committee, three vacancies with the terms to expire in 2021, 2022, and 2023. Patuxent River Authority, one vacancy with the term to expire 6/30 of 2023. West Warwick Public Library of Trustees, one vacancy with the term to expire on 2/2021. Recreation Committee, one vacancy. Juvenile Hearing Board, one vacancy, term to expire on 12/2024. Tree Warden, West Bay Community Action Board of West Warwick Representative, one vacancy. Board of Assessment and Review, one vacancy, term to expire 3/2021. Public comment.
Paula,
Yes.
may I, the public library, so that's not the position that we
That's not
filled?
Matt, it is
That's not Matt
No.
Silver, it's another one. Okay,
another one.
thank you.
Paula, do we have anyone, do we have any applications for any of these boards?
I have two applications right now, but they're reappointments. And I'm waiting on the background checks for them, but they're already in those boards. These boards, I have not received anything.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Public comment, designated portion of the town council's open meeting for citizens to address comments to the town council related to matters affecting the public business. Rhode Island General Law 42-46-2. 3, in Rhode Island General Law 42-46-2, 6. Comments will be only addressed to the town council, who will take them under advisement. When addressing the town council, please state your name and address. Please conduct yourself in an orderly and respectful fashion. The comments of citizens accessing this portion of the meeting are neither adopted nor endorsed by this body, but heard as requested. Members of the town council being duly elected public body as identified in Rhode Island General Law 42-46-2. 3, have no obligation to respond to public comments.
I have a hand up in the air. Any comment from the council before we move on? Mr. Oates, just state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tom Oates, 6 Colonial Way. To Chief Varone, I have a question. I'm asking for somebody who does not do this computer business. As far as the vaccines are concerned and the age categories, is there been anything discussed or any stipulation as far as underlying health condition concerns?
There are some underlying health concerns, but the direction that we've been given from the Department of Health was to pretty much go by age.
Okay, so at this time, those that would be saying a few years under the age, but had underlying health conditions, they're just going to have to wait. Is that how I understand it?
So, everybody should put their information in, and we'll see how many people that actually want to get the vaccine. So, if there is somebody with underlying health conditions and they want to put their name in, we should be taking that also.
Okay, great. And that goes to the senior center number that you had posted on your message that came out?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, and that is a waiting list, Tom. Okay.
Okay.
That's not signing up. That's just a waiting list. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you, Tom. I have 2 more. Derek?
Good evening, Derek Reed, 62 Andrews Ave. First thing, I got a couple things here. First thing, for the DPW, I just want to say that the DPW did a much better job, in my opinion, with this last storm. Hopefully we're on track for better preparation and executing these snowstorms when we continue the progress that I saw around my neighborhood yesterday and today. So I think that as much as I've been on the topic, it also deserves to have positive feedback from myself that's been pretty adamant about this. The other thing is 69 Washington Street has really been bugging me and a lot of other taxpayers. So I think it's time I break the ice on this, and you may want to bring it back up for a discussion on your council meetings. First of all, the project looks great. It's new for the community. It's housing. But was that approved to be for residential purposes only, or was it to be retail space on the first floor?
1 unit retail space.
Does the town have a minimum requirement for square footage
Not that I am aware of.
for retail?
I can't answer that.
Because from looking at the website for the sale of those units and whatnot, and looking in the windows, the area put aside, we'll say, for retail, you couldn't put a barber chair in there. So I just think it's ridiculous, in my opinion. And I mean, if there's no minimum requirement for retail space or commercial space in this town, I suggest we start to think about that when we approve these new developments in town, especially in Lower Arctic, where you guys are trying to create this living space and commercial retail space to attract two different types of income. Because if there's no minimum space, square footage, then the square footage put aside on that one building is probably big enough to sell lollipops and ice cream. And that's about it. And that's out the window because there's no room to walk around. The other part of that is, you know, you guys as a council approve a 10-year tax break, great. But to drive through town and have a 4x8 sign blowing in your face saying how much you're going to save by buying that as far as taxes goes, I think it's a slap in the face to the taxpayers. I think as a council, something should be said about that. You got a lot of hardworking families in this town that are taxpayers. You got a lot of families that are down and out right now trying to pay their taxes. And to drive through town and see such a low number being driven in your face every time you stop at that stop sign, I find that a little uncomfortable. It's not just coming from me. I've heard it from a lot of people, and it's not right. Whether you gave them the tax break or whatever, that's fine. But to put it on the advertisement for everybody to see, I don't think that should be the way in this, what's going on in this town. And as far as, you know, the way the American way is right now, everything's about equality. So I think all the taxpayers should be treated equally. And to stick $160 a month or whatever that says out there it's just a slap in the face. But that's my opinion. That's a lot of people's opinion. Apparently, I'm the only one with enough testosterone to put it out there, but I'm putting it out there on behalf of everybody that's come to me with it. And I don't get it. And then the other thing is, on that topic, is what's going in on the corner of Crawford and Washington, because I have an idea. I've talked to some people about it, but I got a lot of people asking the question to me because, as you all know, I'm very involved in this town the last few years. So what's the plan on that corner, Crawford and Washington?
I have no idea, Derek. I know there's an excavator there, but that property has just been purchased, so I can't see if there's any plans or if there's any plans submitted. And Al, maybe you can answer if anything has come to zoning or before the Arctic Village. I mean, the Arctic Redevelopment Commission. You're on mute, Al.
Am I off now?
Yep.
Nothing that I know of has come to zoning, and I believe that would be part of the Arctic redevelopment area.
Yep.
So that would not be a zoning question, David. That would be a Arctic redevelopment.
And I actually had a conversation with Jim Marsh a little earlier, and we didn't even speak about that, but we did speak about a few other things. But there was no talk about that whatsoever. And
all right, well, we'll see how that all plays out.
Derek, the Arctic Redevelopment Commission is a separate entity that handles that. That's why I'm not able to answer, because zoning normally is not involved in that matter because of the special act of the Arctic Redevelopment Commission.
Well, then, David, I'm going to ask you as the town council president to put that on the agenda and have the town planner present to tell us what's going on there. And then the last thing I just want to do is, I don't usually call on Messier very often, but, you know, apparently he's my councilman, so I'm going to ask him to do me a favor. Maybe not a favor, but just do his job. And I want to put that Factory Street Playground back on the agenda for discussion in depth, because you all are aware of an email that went out this past weekend. And I think it's time we start to discuss what really went on at the playground. You know, it's time to put the real puzzle pieces on the table. So I'm asking Messier, Councilman Messier, to put this on the agenda for another discussion. And if Councilman Messier doesn't want to fulfill that, then I'm going to ask David Goslin as the town council president put that on one more time for a discussion
Uh,
where the public can speak on topic.
just to clarify, is there a specific, just the playground in general? I can get it on the next agenda.
We want to discuss exactly what went on with the playground. So the
With
whole
the-
so we have transparency with the entire.
I mean, we
with
could,
all the public in West Warwick.
I mean, we could definitely put an update on what's going on at the playground, and that could be included in that conversation.
That's fine, but just make sure we put a note in there that the taxpayers can speak on topic.
That's fine.
And that's all I have. Just have a good night. I just want you guys to have a good night and stay warm, stay safe, and see you at the next one.
Thank you. Pete, just state your name and address for the record. You're on mute, Pete.
Can you hear me now, Dave?
Can hear you.
Pete Cottrell, 25 Nowicki Street. First of all, I have a couple of comments, and then I have one question. First, I'd like to echo what Derek said. Our neighborhood has never looked so good after a snowstorm. I got to tell you, I didn't, David, you know, I sent you that picture, and I was amazed. And then to find out that the town had leased that red piece of machinery, I'll tell you what, I'd like to see you guys authorize Don Olet to go get a couple more of those things, because that thing was impressive, and it cleaned up our neighborhood nice. So, you know, props to DPW and Don Olet for a great job this time around. Let's keep up the good work. Number two, I want to thank the council for approving the stop sign. It's long overdue. I'm speaking for myself as well as my neighbors. They're going to be happy to see that go up. I'll add this question. I'm not sure on how long it's going to take, and I know the ground is frozen, so I don't think it's going to be anytime soon, but roughly estimated.
So Pete,
time.
What happens is tonight was the first reading, so it has to come before the council 2 weeks from now, which will be the middle of February. And then it takes, I think it's 20 days. Is it 20, Paula?
Yeah, 20 days from that date.
20 days from enactment. So you'll actually be in the middle of March by the time that goes up.
Okay, so hopefully the ground will be thawed out by then.
So hopefully, you know, today was Groundhog Day. So, and he did predict 6 more weeks of winter. Hopefully that's not true. And so the ground should be soft enough by then.
Okay. And my question is to the whole council, and specifically Councilman D'Amico, what is going on with the med recycling issue or building? I know there's been a lot of chatter through different Facebook groups there. I know East Greenwich has been very vocal about it. There was a meeting with DEM, I believe.
There's still another DM meeting coming up. I think it's John. I actually had a conversation with Chief/Town Manager Not this week, and I think the next DEM meeting is on March 15th. And you could correct me if I'm wrong, Mark. And I think that even from that point, they're still going to be taking public input until April 14th. So nothing will be coming before us. And I've been trying to follow and get as much information, and I'll be tuning into that meeting in March. I mean, again, I didn't mean to cut you off, John, but I had a few conversations this week. But John, maybe you could add a little more input into that. So nothing has come before this council yet. And I know last year there was talk it was going to come before us, and I don't know if COVID slowed that down. So at this point, nothing has come before us.
Well, I from what I understand, Jay and John, is the town planner was on I couldn't get on the DEM Zoom meeting. I don't know if there was too many people or what have you. I couldn't get on it, but it's something I follow, and maybe something I'll share with you guys at a later date that hopefully persuade you guys not to vote this type of business in town. But if John has any input, I mean, I'd like to, Where does it stand? Where does it stand in the town?
If,
I know,
if DEM, and again, if DEM were to not approve it, it would never even get to us, so it would almost be a moot point at that point. But I have been, trying to get as much information as possible. John, what, no, it's in your ward.
what permits does this gentleman have now? I mean, you go on their website and they pretty much, I know this has been a heated discussion between a lot of people, but he's already got stuff in place in that building. So where does that leave the town? Because
So Pete, I don't want to get into a big discussion during public comment, but as you can imagine, this is something that's been going on for quite some time. A lot of time on the part of the town, the planner, myself. We've put a lot of time into trying to understand the whole process and exactly what they're doing. But they have to take certain steps legally. As Councilman Messier mentioned, the state right now is holding 2 public hearings, one of which they already held. There'll be a second where people can ask questions of the paralysis process. Because my understanding is the state is going to approve it, but they have these public hearings. So the other thing that's happening, to my understanding, the town of East Greenwich is having a private review, an outside company that they've hired. We've done the same, just to assure that the process is safe, to sort of coincide with what the state is telling us. But as I said, I'm not going to say anything beyond that, just because it's really not the forum to be doing that. We kind of have to wait out the process.
Right. I respect that, Councilman, but I'm going to throw this out there, and I mean, it's for the public. I mean, if people don't believe me, what I'm about to say, I was involved in one of these, not one of those, a medical recycling incinerator, but a very similar incinerator. I pretty much own the city of Johnston for the rest of my life. I was tested for 13 different toxic chemicals because I was involved in one of the fires there. Is the town ready for this if anything was to happen? That's true fact.
Again,
I mean, just
I don't want to get into a big
head up.
conversation. I mean, that's definitely a hypothetical question. I mean, we could spend hours talking about the process that they're putting before the state. We can't get into it, Pete. It's just not the right form. It's public comment.
No, I understand that. I just wanted to.
And obviously, if it did get to that point, we would have a longer form discussion. It's not something at all. I know people think it's something we snuck through. It hasn't even come before us. And absolutely, if it got to that point, I'm sure that there would be plenty of people that wanted to talk on the topic.
The biggest issue with this came back whenever it was March or whenever it was when somehow prematurely a mistake was made in the clerk's office, and this was put on the agenda for approval of a license, which made it look really sketchy, as if we pushed something through, we were ready to vote on it, and it was just an error on the part of the clerk's office. But the process, it's going through the process that it's supposed to go through, being with the planning board and of course with the state. So we just have to wait the process out. But I will say this, it's the last thing I'm going to say. There's a lot of false information out there right now. So I'm going to leave it at that.
And I just want to clarify that the error wasn't actually at the clerk's office. It was told to the business owner by another department that they need to apply for a business license before they can review their permits.
Okay, I know there's, like you said, John, we could go back and forth all night long. I would respectfully disagree that there's some false information. I think, and I'll leave it at that. Like you said, I'm not, I just wanted to see where it stands because there's been a lot of chatter throughout social media, and I just wanted to see where the town was at with that. But I'm all set with my questions. If there's anybody else, have a good night.
Good night.
And I have one more.
Good evening again, Tom Oates, 6 Colonial Way. Couple of quick questions and a comment or two. Pete, there was approximately 1,200 people on that Zoom meeting the other day. I was one of. There was nobody from the town of West Warwick, no officials involved in that meeting, and I'm really surprised that the councilman for Ward 5 was not
Tom,
on
let me
that.
just interrupt you for 1 minute. First of all, it was a public hearing for people to ask questions. My schedule precluded me from it. However, our town planner was there.
I didn't finish. Excuse me. Let me try to finish my sentence before
Yeah, go
you
ahead, try.
interrupt. Thank you. Like I said, there were no town officials on there except Mr. Mark Carullo. And the question was asked to Mark, what are the results of the consultation firm that the town of West Warwick had hired to do this investigation? And he did not answer. However, Mr. Campanella did jump in and said that consultation has not been done for the town of West Warwick as of yet. So has that consultation firm been hired, and have they done an investigation, or have they not? Hello?
Crickets. I assume we don't know. I don't
I was just
know.
gonna say, I can't answer that for you, Tom.
Well, no, my understanding is through the planner that they have been hired, and that, this is at the expense of the applicant. But it hasn't been completed yet.
Well, this seems to defy. I mean, Mr. Carullo was there under, I believe it was his wife's email, and it was just odd because in the beginning of the meeting, I asked specifically who was there from the town of an official from the town of West Warwick, and there were no answers.
Mr. Oates, I know, Senator. Mr. Oates, there was nobody from the council there, but there was a state senator there also on that call.
Yeah, again, I'm going to try to finish it. They were asked from the town of West Warwick, town officials who was there, and nobody answered. Later on in the meeting, it was asked again because somebody had realized that the email address that showed up for one of the participants was indeed Mr. Carullo. And he then stated, Mark Carullo, town planner, town of West Warwick. And that's all he said. There were many questions that were asked of the town, and he didn't answer anything. When the one question was directed to him specifically about this consultation firm, he did not answer. And being a town official on there, you would have thought that he would have. That's when Mr. Campanella said, and on the record, that it has not been done. So that I was just curious because of getting mixed information on that. So we know that this consultation firm has not been hired and this investigation has not been done, or has that changed since last Monday?
So, Mr. Oates, again, I think Councilman D'Amico said the firm has been hired, but the consultation has not taken place.
To my understanding, David.
Yes.
From previous conversation with Mr. Carullo.
So we'll double check on that and we'll get back to you.
I would like an answer, because unless that's changed since a week ago, yesterday, that would be false information. But I would like an answer on that. Thank you. Oh, and I'm sorry. One more item is back to the Washington Street location. The ordinance number 2018-22 states that there are 8 residential units in that complex. I don't see how, as a matter of fact, going through the project, I don't see 8 residential units in that those 2 buildings. No comment?
All far as I know, Mr. Oates, there's 8 condos in those units. And the ninth one's supposed to be retail. And as far as I know, it's going to be office space for the construction company.
Office, well, that's not residential. It states here on,
So, Mr.
Your-
Oates, you did not listen to me. I said there's 8 condos on premise. The 9th one is the, or one of them is retail. I'm sorry. So, and it could be, when you say retail, that could be office space. That could be a lawyer's office. It could be a barber shop. It can be a candy shop. It could be.
I understand that, but it
But-
states there are 8 residential units. And at best, there are 4, not 8.
There's more than 4 units there, Mr. Oates.
There's not
Okay.
8 residential units there.
All right. Thank you.
So what is wrong, the buildings or the ordinance that was written? And I'll take that as a no comment. Thank you.
I have one more hand up. Mr. Reed.
I have one more thing to add to that. So now that we've all confirmed that there's retail space in there, we need to maybe educate our building department again. Because if you have retail space in a building or commercial space in a building, building code is steel door with glass, opens out, not a wood core door with 8 panels, opens in. That's all I have to say. It's our building officials at work again.
Mr. Reed.
Maybe we're going to get to the bottom of that one day as well.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Question for you. How many units are in there?
Me? You asking me?
Yeah, is there more than 4 living units? I know you've done a lot of research on the building.
I haven't counted the units. I'm just concerned with the frontage of it. That's all. And, you know, I'm just saying, I pay attention a lot. I've learned a lot in the last couple of years, and I've learned a lot about the building codes in this town. Seems like they get unfollowed on every project in this town. And as far as Mark Carullo goes with that last meeting, I wasn't going to go here tonight, but I can see your arrogance is starting to come out. He was present at that meeting under an alias email. As a town official, I don't know what he's on his wife's email for. He's got his own, I believe, as a town official that has a West Warwick email to the West Warwick Town Hall. Okay. If you people are going to continue to trust this man, us taxpayers are going to pay a lot of money for all of his dirty deeds and favors. And I'm going to leave it at that because you all know what's in that email. So let's continue to work with Mark Carullo and let Mark Carullo keep sweeping it under the carpet so we all can pay out the back door for us, all right? Because that's the way this goes. Mark Carullo's involved in that condo project. Mark Carullo knows what's going on in the corner of Crawford Street, and I'll tell you what's going on there. There's another condo unit going there that never came before this council. Now explain that one. And Mark Carullo was seen by my 2 eyes, and I can count one Mark Carullo walking that property. So Mark Carullo knows what's going on in that property. The council's again uninformed. So keep Mark Carullo on the payroll. I'll be sure to take him out. Don't worry. He'll lose his job by the time I'm done. Because David, you want to keep backing him up, and then you want to get mad at me and ask me,
Mr. Reed.
How many units are in that condo? I don't know how many units are in that condo. I'm telling you, if it's retail space or commercial space, there is building codes in this town and they're not being followed. That's my point.
So again, that has nothing, the building codes have nothing to do with Mr. Carullo. Secondly, if Mr. Carullo is walking a property in this town because a business owner wants to talk to him and because he is the town planner and he is part of the Arctic Redevelopment Committee, I think he's doing everything legal there. I don't see anything wrong with
David,
him walking
Dave,
the
go to
property.
Go to Mark Carullo tonight. Call him, or go see him tomorrow morning. Ask him who was with him on that property.
All right. Mr. Wilbur should have been. Thank you.
No. Ask him tomorrow.
Mr. Oates?
Beg your pardon, off mute. Just to clarify something, there are 4 residential units in those 2 buildings, 2 in each building. The videos are online from the realtors that are trying to sell them.
Mr. Oates, I have to interrupt you because myself, the manager, Jay Messier, and Mark walked through these buildings on a tour about a month ago, and I can tell you that the front building has 4 units at least.
Excuse me, at least. It's either 4 or it's one or the other. And I'm telling you,
No, there's
that
not
there
2
are.
though.
Can I finish my
No, I'm
sentence?
done. I'm done. I can't.
Thank
sit
you.
here and go
Have
back.
a nice evening. Now, David, back to this. There are I'm sorry. I guess I was muted again. Am I shut off?
I'm listening, Tom.
Oh, okay. Back again. There are 2 buildings. There are in each building 2 residential units. Basement unfinished, first floor and second floor.
Mr.
And
Oates, this is what we're talking about, misrepresentation and things. Have you physically been inside that building?
yes,
Okay, and so hasn't 2 town officials and the building official and whoever else. The plans, if you want to go to town hall and get those plans tomorrow, you can. They're open to the public. There is 4 units in each building. If you
I
want,
understand there are 4 units, David. There's not a discrepancy there of 4 units. There are not 8 residential units there. There are not 4 residential units in each one of those buildings. They're not. And if you'd like, I'll meet you at the town hall tomorrow. We'll get the drawings and you and I will go grab a coffee and go and look at them. I'm available. It's just a question of looking at this ordinance and stating that there are 8 residential units. There are not. And that's all I got, because I'm not going to get an answer.
no other public comment? Need a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.